Good morning, church. Just wanted to connect with you, so decided to make this video so you can at least listen to what is on my heart at the moment. I think lockdown has been an amazing time, both good and not so good. I know ones have lost jobs, and praying that you'll find work as quickly as possible. But in general, as a church, we have not been impacted too much by the economic crisis that is occurring in the church. So that's a fantastic thing. We're now into 6 weeks of lockdown where it is starting to change. And I think as we look back over the time, there is some encouraging things that we can see in our lives and in the life of the church. I think one thing is it really has reflected on how well connected we are as a church. The whole understanding of church as a family has really become part of who we are, and that's seen in how people have connected and built together. So that's really encouraging. We're now coming to the time when we can see that we are allowed to have more than just our families at home. We are coming to the stage where there is now 5 visitors allowed to your home. I know for us as a family, that's been really fantastic, with the kids and the grandchildren being able to come and visit. So that's been really enjoyable to us, and I imagine for many of you that's been an encouraging thing that you've been able to see your children and grandchildren again. So fantastic. But we're coming now to another stage, not yet, but coming soon, where we'll be allowed 10 people if the virus doesn't explode again. And so that's when I think it's going to be a really interesting time. I think every one of us has missed the fellowship and relational aspect of our church. I know I have. I really want to be back together again, where we can see, we can fellowship, we can talk face to face. To me, that's really what church is all about. And so I miss it. But when we're allowed 10 people in our homes, I think that creates an opportunity, and that is, instead of just every family meeting together by themselves and enjoying the live stream church, we can then invite ones to our home. If we have a bigger home, then invite ones to come and have church together. And that way we build that whole sense of relational activity, or the community activity in the church together, which I think's something very important. And so as the numbers increase, then we can start to do that in our homes. We can come and watch the live stream church worship when the songs are on. I think when there's only 2 or 3, we can often tend just to listen. But when we get a larger group, then we can enter into worship and really bring down the presence of God in our homes. I think that would be fantastic. And then listen to the messages, and then afterwards have some fellowship, and then hopefully people bring food, potluck, lunch together, and make the whole activity something which is not just listening to an online service, but participating and having fellowship together in community. We can build these little nuclear churches across our city where we live, and build that something that I think would be fantastic. So I think that's the next step for us as a church, to start to look at that. You know, just reflecting on how this isolation has impacted our lives. I think one thing it does, it really shows each one of us where we are in God. Some of us may feel, I didn't use my time wisely, and therefore when I come to a time like this, I am lacking in some areas of my life. Others can look and see what God has done, because it's in the periods of isolation, or periods of what you call winter seasons in our lives, that we really see how good the growth was in the time of spring and summer. And so we are in some ways in a winter time, and it is important that we take stock and see where we are. You know, the Bible says there's a time for reaping, there's a time for sowing, there's a time for mourning, there's a time for laughing, there's a time for for everything under heaven. And there's times for a winter season in our lives. And this is something of a winter season. We can know a lot more about our lives through such a time as this. At this time, I think about quality timber. And you ask me, well, that's a strange thing to think about at this time. But if you know, most quality timber comes from a climate which has got both hot and cold periods. And it requires that for the timber to grow with strength. If you cut a tree and you look at the rings, you will find, if you look closely, that the rings are divided by a period of rapid growth and then a period of slow growth, and that is reflected in the size of the cells in the ring. And that means there is a winter and there is a summer. And all quality trees have that in their growth, and that creates the strength of the timber. Both in the temperate climate it's like that, and even in the tropics, most quality timbers are grown in the mountainous areas which have more of a hot and a cold season. And that is often why God puts us through these different times, because it consolidates and strengthens what we have, and so makes us stronger, not weaker. Times like this also gives us an understanding of what the early Christians must have gone through when they were put into prison for their faith, where they were isolated and only had their relationship with Jesus to fall on. At least in this time we have our relationship with Jesus, but we have live streaming as well. They didn't in the first century. And so we go through these times, and I think it is not bad, but it is not necessarily good also. We are soon to come out, and I'm looking forward to that, when we can be back together, where we can encourage one another, where we can spend time together and enjoy what God has made us to be. So I want you to be encouraged. Now, I said we are soon to come out, but I say that in the same context as Paul talked about the soon return of Christ. He thought Christ was coming very soon, but still he is not yet here. So soon, as I'm not saying within a few months, it possibly will be longer than a few months before we are back to where we were before this coronavirus happened. So we can build towards it, and we can take steps to actually rebuild what we had. But there will be a day where we will be back together enjoying fellowship as a family, as a community. So God bless you, and let's look with anticipation and hope and faith for that day. Thank you for listening today. God bless you. Have a great day.